Once you hear these truths, you'll realize that you've been giving away your own worth without even knowing it. And after that, you won't be able to unsee it. You'll notice it in everything you do and in how she responds to you. These are the 9 things a wise man never does. Understanding them won't just help you see women more clearly, it will give you a quiet kind of power. So take a deep breath. Put away every distraction, because if you stay with me until the end of this video, you'll never have to chase anyone again. Let's begin. Rule number 1. Never over-explain yourself. Most men destroy their power not by being weak, but by trying too hard to be understood. They think words build connection, but in reality, words reveal position. Every time you justify your actions, you quietly place yourself below the listener, asking for permission to exist. Psychologists call this submissive framing, a mental posture where you unconsciously signal that your value depends on the other person's approval. Women can feel this instantly, even if they can't explain it. When she asks, "Why didn't you reply right away?" you think explaining will calm her mind. But what she really feels is whether you stayed calm within yourself. If your energy shifts, she senses weakness, not care. Machiavelli warned that a ruler should never defend himself too often, because the more he explains, the more he looks guilty. The same law applies here. A man who constantly explains himself creates suspicion where none existed. You don't owe the world your reasoning, only your results. Say what needs to be said once and let your silence carry the rest. Because silence doesn't create confusion, it creates curiosity. And curiosity is the seed of attraction. True power is not in being loud, it's in being unshaken. A calm man forces others to question themselves. A nervous man invites others to question him. So remember this law of dark psychology. The moment you explain yourself to gain understanding, you lose control of perception. And perception, not truth, is what shapes power. Speak less, mean every word, and never let the need to be understood outweigh the need to remain untouchable. Because mystery doesn't hide weakness, it creates value. Rule number 2. Never chase. Most men don't realize this, but chasing is the fastest way to erase attraction. There's a difference between pursuing and chasing, and that difference is everything. Pursuit is guided by purpose. It's calm, grounded, strategic. Chasing is driven by fear. Fear of losing attention, fear of being forgotten. When you chase, you create a silent contract that says, "You have the power, I'm just trying to keep up." And she feels that immediately, not through words, but through energy. The tone of your voice, the speed of your replies, even the tension in your texts, they all reveal whether you're leading or begging. In dark psychology, this is called perceived scarcity. The one who chases declares himself less valuable, because abundance never runs after validation. It waits, it selects, it attracts. When she pulls away, when she delays her reply, when she says she's busy, that's not rejection. That's a test of emotional gravity. She wants to know if your world collapses without her orbiting it. A grounded man remains still. He doesn't double text. He doesn't bargain for attention. Because every time you insist, you confirm that her approval is your oxygen. Machiavelli wrote that the prince must never beg for loyalty. He must inspire it through presence. The same truth applies here. A man who commands respect never runs after it. So understand this law. The more you chase, the faster she runs. The more you pull back, the more she leans in. Energy follows value, and value belongs to the one who can walk away. Smart men don't chase. They lead. They move forward only when energy flows both ways, and when it doesn't, they disappear quietly, leaving mystery behind. Because the man who knows his worth doesn't chase anyone. He becomes the one worth chasing. Rule number 3. Don't reveal your whole life too soon. Most men mistake emotional exposure for connection. They meet a woman, the chemistry feels real, and within days they're confessing everything. Childhood pain, past heartbreaks, secret dreams. It feels deep, it feels honest, but in truth, it's a trap. Because mystery isn't deception, it's leverage. It's what Machiavelli called the power of controlled revelation. The wise man doesn't hand over his story like a public diary. He releases fragments, small pieces of truth, designed to build curiosity, not comfort. Every word he shares is deliberate, every silence is strategic. Understand this. When you expose everything too early, you rob her of discovery. You remove the tension that attraction feeds on. Psychologically, this creates emotional saturation. She feels like she's already seen the entire film before the plot even began. And what's familiar too soon stops being fascinating. Intimacy, real intimacy, is a dance of timing. You lead with subtlety, you reveal with patience. You don't open your heart hoping she'll stay. You open it slowly to see if she's earned her place inside it. Because the man who overshares isn't being deep, he's being desperate for emotional return. And desperation always reverses polarity. She feels pressure instead of passion. She pulls away, not because she doesn't care, but because she can't breathe under your need for understanding. A man's story gains power when it's protected. A man's silence creates value when it's intentional. The less you reveal at once, the more she leans forward to know what's behind the curtain. Remember this: mysterious men aren't hiding, they're mastering exposure. Because what's rare is respected, and what's easily known is easily forgotten. Rule number 4: never try to change her. She might be beautiful, magnetic, even intoxicating, but beneath that surface, she carries chaos. Mood swings, contradictions, and self-destructive patterns that make you want to step in and fix her. You tell yourself it's love, but in truth, it's ego, the illusion that your care can rewrite her nature. Stop. A wise man never plays the role of savior, because the moment you try to heal her wounds, you become defined by them. And nothing kills desire faster than a man who becomes her therapist instead of her anchor. Machiavelli warned that a ruler should never attempt to reform others too quickly, because people cling to their flaws as if they were virtues. The same is true here. When you try to correct her storms, she won't see your help as strength. She'll see it as control. And control, no matter how loving, always breeds resistance. Understand this psychological law. Every time you try to fix her emotions, you communicate that hers are stronger than yours. You teach her that she can shake your stability. And the moment she senses that, she loses the very attraction she once felt. Because a man who's easily shaken cannot lead. A woman doesn't fall for the man who enters her storm. She falls for the one who stands calm in its center. She doesn't need saving. She needs to feel your grounded presence while she saves herself. So, show empathy, yes, but don't lose yourself in her chaos. Be steady when she tests your calm. Be silent when she demands drama. Because stoicism isn't coldness, it's control. It's the ability to care without collapsing, to love without losing balance. And when she realizes that no amount of chaos can move you, you become the calm she'll keep coming back to. Rule number 5: never neglect your mission for her. It rarely happens all at once. It begins quietly, with good intentions, with soft eyes, and long conversations. You meet a woman who lights something inside you. You start spending more time together, sharing moments, sharing laughter. And without realizing it, you start to trade discipline for comfort. Your workouts get postponed. Your goals become background noise. The man who once had direction begins orbiting around her. You tell yourself it's love, that it's worth it. But what's really happening is the slow erosion of masculine purpose. Machiavelli warned that a ruler who forgets his greater mission becomes a servant of his emotions. And that's exactly what happens to most men in love. They replace empire with infatuation. They surrender the throne of their mind for the illusion of peace. Understand this truth. The moment you make her your center, you step out of your own gravity. She feels it instantly. At first, she might enjoy the attention, the constant availability, the way you drop everything for her. But soon, that same devotion turns heavy. It suffocates. She starts to feel what you can't see, that you've placed her on a pedestal built from your lost ambition. And no woman respects the man who abandons his kingdom to live in hers. Your mission isn't a hobby, it's your oxygen. It's what gives you edge, purpose, and direction. It's what keeps your energy magnetic. When you trade that for validation, you kill the polarity that made her attracted in the first place. In dark psychology, this is called the collapse of hierarchy, the moment a man gives emotional control to the one he's meant to lead through stability. He becomes reactive, uncertain, and in time, disposable. Because a woman can love you deeply, but she will not follow a man who has lost his direction. So what does a wise man do? He builds his world first, and invites her to walk beside him, not sit above him. He pursues his mission with the same hunger that brought her close to him in the first place. He understands that passion without purpose becomes dependency. And dependency always ends in resentment. If she ever complains that your goals take too much of your time, don't argue. Smile and continue building. Because a woman who truly understands masculine energy knows that your ambition is not competition, it's your nature. She doesn't want to own you, she wants to believe in you. Remember this. When a man is led by vision, everything around him orients toward his path, even love. But when a man is led by emotion, everything around him begins to test his weakness. Let her be part of your life, yes. Share your victories, your moments, your laughter. But never let her become the reason you stopped moving forward, because once your purpose dims, so does your polarity. And in the psychology of attraction, polarity is everything. It's the invisible current that separates desire from friendship, attraction from comfort, leadership from obedience. So stay loyal to your mission, not just for success, but for sanity. Because the man who lives for a higher aim becomes the man she can't stop thinking about. He becomes untouchable, not because he ignores her, but because he cannot be consumed by her. And that's the paradox she secretly craves, a man she can love deeply, but never completely possess. When your life is guided by purpose, you stop chasing attention, because everything, including her, starts revolving around your direction. So never forget this. When a man chases something greater than her, she begins to chase him. Not because he runs, but because he walks with the certainty of someone who knows exactly where he's going. That's the essence of masculine dominance. That's the heartbeat of Machiavelli's dark psychology, the art of ruling your world so you never have to beg to belong in someone else's. Rule number 6, never compete for her attention. It happens faster than you think. You're out somewhere together, a party, a cafe, maybe a dinner with friends. She's smiling, laughing, her attention momentarily drawn elsewhere. And suddenly, your chest tightens. You feel that quiet panic, the ancient fear of being replaced. So you react. You talk louder. You crack another joke. You reach for her gaze as if it's slipping away. And in that very moment, you lose the one thing that made you attractive in the first place, your composure. Understand this. The moment you try to compete for her attention, you've already admitted she has something you need. You've handed her the power of validation, and she didn't even ask for it. Now, instead of being the man she admired, you've become one of the crowd, chasing approval in the court of her gaze. In Machiavellian psychology, this is called status collapse, the instant a man betrays his internal hierarchy by placing another's opinion above his own. It's the same dynamic that makes rulers lose kingdoms. The fear of losing favor turns authority into servitude, and what's true in politics is true in desire. A wise man doesn't play that game. He understands that attention, like loyalty, cannot be demanded. It must be earned through gravity. And gravity is silent. It's the invisible force that pulls others toward you without effort. The man who commands presence doesn't need to raise his voice. The room adjusts to his calm. So when she laughs with another man, let her. When she drifts, don't chase. Remain still, grounded, watching. Not cold, not jealous, but composed, like a man who knows he cannot be replaced because he is not competing. In dark psychology, this is the art of frame control. Whoever stays emotionally centered controls the dynamic. If you react, she leads. If you remain calm, she starts wondering why you're so unmoved. And curiosity always replaces indifference. The paradox of attraction is this. The more you fight for her attention, the less you get it. The more you withhold the need for it, the more it returns on its own. Because real value doesn't announce itself, it's felt. Women are drawn not to the loudest man in the room, but to the one who seems untouched by chaos. The one who looks like he could leave, yet chooses not to. That calm confidence signals abundance. The rare awareness that your worth is internal, not up for negotiation. So remember this law. A man who competes loses frame. A man who observes controls it. Never fight for what should flow naturally. Let others seek the spotlight. You are the reason it exists. Because the man who stays unshaken while she's distracted is the one she keeps thinking about long after the noise fades. That's not arrogance, it's mastery. And in Machiavelli's world, the one who masters perception never has to fight for power. He simply becomes the center it revolves around. Rule number 7, never make her the source of your happiness. Let's be honest. If she's the reason you smile, she'll also be the reason you fall apart. Most men don't understand this until it's too late. They meet a woman and slowly, almost unconsciously, they begin to hand over the keys to their emotional world. They start needing her laughter to feel alive, her approval to feel worthy, her attention to feel at peace. It feels romantic, even noble, but it's not love. It's dependence disguised as devotion. And dependence is the beginning of emotional slavery. Machiavelli once said that the prince who builds his fortress on another man's land will one day lose his kingdom. The same is true for men who build their happiness on someone else's mood. The moment she becomes your emotional foundation, you give her the power to destroy you. Not because she wants to, but because no one should ever be trusted with that much control. A wise man builds his peace within. He learns that happiness is not found in her presence, but in his discipline. Joy is not in her validation, but in his self-respect. Fulfillment is not something given, it's something earned through purpose, solitude, and consistency. In the realm of dark psychology, this is called emotional sovereignty, the state where no one's behavior can disturb your internal balance. It's not coldness, it's control. It's the difference between a man who reacts to the world and a man who directs it. When a woman senses that your emotional world is self-sustained, she relaxes into your presence. She doesn't feel the pressure to keep you happy, she simply enjoys the calm of your stability. But when she feels that her affection dictates your state, attraction fades, not because she's cruel, but because she instinctively knows that neediness isn't love, it's weakness. So remember this, neediness repels, wholeness attracts. A woman should add to your happiness, never define it. Your emotional center should remain untouched, untouchable. Ask yourself before you hand her your heart, would I still be at peace if she disappeared tomorrow? If the answer is no, your mission has been replaced by dependency. A man's happiness must come from his ability to build, to create, to conquer his own mind. Because when you master yourself, you no longer seek completion. You attract complement. That's the paradox of power. The less you need her, the more she desires you. Not for your dependence, but for your depth. Not for what you take from her, but for the strength she feels when she stands beside you. So never make her the reason you feel alive, be the reason you feel alive. Because the man who doesn't rely on anyone for happiness is the man no one can ever break. Rule number 8. Don't react emotionally to her tests. Every man who's ever dealt with a woman has felt it. That sudden shift in tone, the subtle pullback, the teasing remark that cuts just a little too deep. She distances herself, she flirts with someone else, she questions your ambition, your masculinity, your worth, and for a moment, your calm cracks. You feel anger, confusion, or self-doubt rising like fire. You want to confront her, demand answers, restore balance, but in doing so, you fail. Not because you were wrong, but because you let her control your emotional state. Understand this, every test is a mirror. She's not always trying to hurt you, she's trying to see you. To feel whether your emotions are built on sand or stone. In her unconscious mind, she's asking, can he withstand pressure without breaking? Can he hold his frame even when I shake it? Machiavelli taught that a ruler's strength is proven not in peace, but in how he reacts to threat and betrayal. The same truth governs attraction. A man's emotional discipline is his throne, and every test is an attempt to see if he deserves to sit on it. When you react, when you raise your voice, chase clarity, or defend yourself too soon, you reveal insecurity. You show that your mood depends on her behavior, and the moment she senses that, she knows she owns your balance. That's not love, that's control. But a wise man moves differently. He sees the test for what it is, not a trap, but a measurement. He observes, breathes, and stays calm. He speaks only when necessary, and when he does, his tone carries the weight of control, not emotion. If she tries to provoke you, laugh softly. If she pulls away, let her. If she mocks you, look her in the eyes, steady, unbothered, and allow the silence to do the work. Because silence is not weakness, it's psychological warfare. It creates uncertainty, and uncertainty is power. This is the essence of emotional mastery, the ability to stay unshaken while others drown in reaction. The man who controls his emotions controls the dynamic. And the one who loses composure loses the frame. So remember this, You don't pass her tests by acting indifferent, you pass them by being untouchable. She's not looking for perfection, she's looking for presence, that quiet confidence that says, no storm can move me. Because when you stop reacting emotionally, something powerful happens. You stop being tested, you become the test, and that's when attraction turns into respect, the kind that never needs to be explained. Rule number 9. Never apologize for your standards. You want loyalty, you want peace, you want a woman who softens your world, not one who fills it with storms. That doesn't make you controlling, it makes you awake. But in today's world, they'll tell you otherwise. They'll say you're too demanding, too picky, or that real men accept women as they are. Number. Real men define the terms of their peace and defend it without guilt. Understand this. Standards aren't rules for others, they're boundaries for yourself. They are the invisible line between power and chaos. And in the psychology of dominance, the man who can walk away from what insults his values always holds the upper hand. Because the one who refuses to settle becomes rare, and rarity commands respect. Machiavelli wrote that a wise ruler must know the limits of what he will tolerate, because mercy without measure turns to weakness. Apply that truth to your own life, if you keep forgiving betrayal, disrespect, or instability. In the name of love, you're not being kind, you're being conquered. The world wants compliant men, men who tolerate confusion, who smile while being drained, who mistake emotional chaos for passion. But a man who truly knows himself will never apologize for protecting his mental kingdom. He doesn't demand perfection, he demands consistency. He doesn't need constant excitement, he needs peace that doesn't feel like absence. So when a woman tries to shame your standards, let her. When people call you cold, let them. Because what they call cold is really clarity, and clarity is what separates rulers from followers. You're not required to lower your expectations just because others can't reach them. You're not required to explain why you choose peace over chaos. You're allowed to want a woman who inspires calm rather than consumes it. And if she can't meet those standards, you don't argue, you don't beg, you don't break. You walk away, calmly, clearly, without resentment. Because a wise man knows this final law of dark psychology. The moment you start apologizing for your standards, you begin negotiating your worth. And a man who negotiates his worth will always end up underpaid, emotionally and spiritually. So stand firm. Be polite but unyielding. Your peace is sacred, and the woman who truly sees your value will never ask you to sacrifice it. Because to the right woman, your standards won't feel like rules. They'll feel like safety. Yeah,